Hey, good evening, everyone. I hope my voice is clearly audible. You can simply raise your hands to confirm this. All right, great. So thanks for the confirmation, guys. And let's move ahead discussing about. So in today's session, it won't be much technical, right? Where I'll simply walk you through the complete modules and the resources, the type of skills that you need, right, in the field of machine learning and data science, right? So that before even starting the course, you are mentally prepared on what skills you have to work on, right, throughout this course. Okay, so today's session will simply discuss about the kind of skills that is required for a data scientist in the industry. All right, and just to mention, any one of you during your session, if you have any doubts, you are free to ask in the chat section, right? I'll be addressing your doubts as and when the time permits. All right. So, guys, I see a few of you are raising hands. You could simply let me know your concern in the chat section. Right. So, guys, if my voice is not audible, you can simply drop this in the chat section, or you can simply raise your hands if it's clearly audible. I see a few of you. All right. So, I see a few of you mentioning this, that the voice is not audible. Right. So, video I have not shared yet. I'll share the link. I'll share this very soon. I hope everyone can see the whiteboard here. Right? Simply drop a yes or a no in the chat section so that I get to know this. All right. Okay. Great. Great. So yes, guys, we'll discuss about, and let's start with the very first topic here about the kind of skills that you need being a data scientist in the industry. We are going to talk both about the technical skills and the soft skills those are required. Right. Before that, let's try to break down this complete term called data science. Right. So in data science, we already have right. So basically, your complete data science is composed of various components, right? And one of the major component that acts as the brain of AI is the machine learning. Right? Machine learning is further comprised of deep learning and other specializations, like we have in the field of natural language processing called NLP, right? The latest development in this is the chat GPT that almost every one of you must have heard about this. Right. Moving on with the next topic is the statistics. This forms the basic foundation of the machine learning or complete data science. All right. And to some extent, you also need to have a good understanding of a few mathematical concepts, right? The mathematical concepts that involves is linear algebra, right? Followed by probability, followed by a little bit of differential calculus, right? So these topics in mathematics will help you to excel in the field of data science, right? And if you are not comprised of this knowledge, do not worry. We'll cover everything from scratch, right? So in the first session itself, which is from tomorrow's session, we'll start with the discussion of statistics. Right? So these are basically a few parts that is comprised of this complete course. right? Apart from this, we also have, let's say, object detection, right? Object detection using AI, right? So we'll be using various different modules. I'll walk you through once we dive into that topic. Right now, moving on, let's discuss about the skills that you will be in need of. Right. So skills starts with a strong foundation in programming. Right. So strong programming understanding, we can say. Right. You need to have good understanding and hands-on experience. Right. So throughout this course, we'll discuss about the various aspects how you can build this particular skill, right? And majorly everything will revolve around Python, right? So yes, this is the first first session for your batch, right? And this will be just an introductory session, and from tomorrow onwards, we'll proceed ahead with the technical discussions. All right. So strong foundation in Python, and this will be implemented on Jupyter Notebook, right? This is the interface that we will be using to implement all the Python codes, right? Now, moving on, apart from this, since you will also be working on, right, since you'll also be, okay, I forgot to mention one language here, which is SQL, right? So along with this, you'll also be working with the data, right? So the exchange of data will take place through databases, and the database that we are going to cover is MySQL, right? Now, moving ahead with this, the interface that we will be using is MySQL Workbench. Right? Now, moving ahead with this, right? Moving ahead with this, we'll also see a tool called Microsoft Excel. I hope almost every one of you must have heard about this, right? We'll see how statistical analysis can be done on Microsoft Excel, right? Along with this, how, let's say, you can build dashboards acting as a data scientist or a data analyst in any industry. All right. Now, moving on with this, we have our next tool that we are going to learn, and it's basically Tableau and Power BI, right? So it's either of it you'll be learning or opting for either one of it. Right now, after this, we'll also cover in the coming times, right? In the coming times, we'll also cover a few of these specializations, and specializations is comprised of a lot of other things, right? Tools, softwares, technologies, modules, right? So let's keep that category as others, right? This you'll get in your elective space. All right. So these are the technical skills we can talk about. Okay, these are the technical skills that you will hold. And we'll walk you through these technical skills throughout this course. Right now, moving on. All right, so here moving on, let's talk about some of the soft skills those are required for you to build, right? The first is strong communication, right? And that too in preferable language of English, right? This is the language that is universal in the industry or in the corporate world, right? And you need to build, right? And your command should be in English language, right? Moving on with this, other soft skills those are required is problem solving skills, right? So we'll also discuss about how you can build these skills, right? So this is the second skill. Talking about the next skill here will also be required the data storytelling, which means how the findings that you have from the data, are you able to clearly communicate that through your words or in the form of a story, right? So this will be built up, right? So we'll also see how insights and observations can be written and how you can extract basically the information from the data using the mathematical techniques or the statistical techniques. Right? So all right, so moving ahead with this, let's discuss the fourth point here. And the fourth point, all right, all right, guys. So let's see if any of these skills that we are discussing here, if you do not currently hold these skills, there is absolutely not a problem in this, right? We'll be covering most of the skills from scratch, right? So wherever what the kind of skill that is required, we'll work on it and make progress, right? So yes, guys, I can see whosoever is raising hands and uh, whosoever is, mentioning your conversation or query in the chat section, I can clearly see. All right. Now, moving on, let's discuss about the next skill here that is required, right? And the next skill that you could majorly say is the guess estimate, right? Guess estimate is basically making estimation or making a wild guess of any given scenario or any given circumstances, right? Now, moving on, the other skills that you will be in need of is you should be a good team player, right? You should be a good team player because most of your times you'll be working in a team, right? Machine learning or data science projects are not carried out individually, right? There are a lot of people, lot of resources, lot of cross team communication that happens in a single project, right? So you should be a good team player. You should be able to communicate your findings, your challenges, everything to the other team very clearly. All right, the next thing is you should be very adaptable. You should be very adaptable to the adaptable in general, right? And when we talk about adaptability, it could be maybe adaptation in a new team or adaptation in a new work environment, right? Adaptation in any other circumstances, right? You should be very adaptable, and this also works uh, with evolving technology, right? So as and when the new technologies they are introduced, you should be very adaptable and you should be able to learn it very quickly, right? So with this, we'll make our next point here that you should be a quick learner, right? You should be able to learn things very quickly. and you should be able to start processing using the skills that you have learned, right? So the application part is more important when we talk about developing a new skill, learning a new module, right? Or a new framework. All right. Now, moving on, we could mention some other miscellaneous skills here, right? And some of the miscellaneous skills could be maybe you should have a good time management skills, because the data science projects, they usually come with a very tight deadline, right? And there are a lot of things that needs to be implemented within the deadlines. So you should be able to manage your time very quickly, right? And efficiently. Basically, you should be able to deliver results. All right. So yes, we'll mention the other category as miscellaneous. All right. So yes, these are some of the soft skills that you need to develop. Right. And now let's dive into directly, basically, the skills that you will be using on a daily basis if, when you land up a job as a data analyst or a data scientist, right? So these are basically the skills that uh, you will be in need of, right, to deliver results, right? So maybe we can say day-to-day responsibilities, right? And this starts with the Python programming, of course, right? Python and SQL. I'll mention it here, right? Next is working with databases, right? The next part is performing, let's say you will be in need of performing statistical analysis, right? Statistical analysis, maybe in any of the tool that you could use, maybe stats model, right? Talking about the next skills that you will be in need, right? Will be, of course, machine learning, right? In machine learning, you'll start with supervised, moving on with unsupervised, and then eventually to reinforcement learning, right? The next skills that you will be required is data cleaning and data processing, right? So it's basically termed as processing of data is pre-processing, right? So pre is basically before training the model, which is why this pre is used, right? So before training the model, the data needs to be processed because there are a few prerequisites for machine learning algorithms, and those prerequisites should be fulfilled before passing your data into any machine learning algorithm, right? Now, moving on, you will be developing skills called feature extraction, right? Or feature importance. This basically is features, as I've already mentioned, right? Features are basically the columns of your data, and you should be able to extract meaningful features, and you should be able to make decisions what feature needs to be dropped or removed from the data so that the efficiency of the model can be improved and it will not impact the final results, right? So this is basically feature extraction and importance, basically deciding the importance of feature and taking top N% of important features for your data. Right. Next is, let's say, the data visualization techniques, right? This is basically representing the data in the form of graphs and plots so that you can easily make decisions, based on the analysis, right? So that you can easily see the pattern in the data. And data visualization is purely for us being humans, because a machine does not require a plot to make interpretation from the data. It will be using the statistical power along with the, uh, let's say, computation power, right, to give you the results. Right. So the let's say the modules that you will be covering during this course for data visualization is Matplotlib, right, and Seaborn. Right. So Matplotlib is, you can say, it's a basic library for plotting graphs, and Seaborn, it's built on top of Matplotlib, and hence it's a data visualization module that can be used to represent your complex data in very simple and easy to understand kind of a form, right? So that you can interpret the patterns very easily. And once you are able to interpret the patterns, you'll be able to get your findings from the data. Right? Moving on. Right? Moving on. Talking about, we of course will be working with some of the other kind of text data, right, which falls into the window of natural language processing, right? So for this as well, you'll be learning a module, right, called NLTK. Although there are multiple modules, but yes, NLTK, which is Natural Language Toolkit, is majorly one of the most popular, let's say, module in NLP that is used to pre-process the data and understand the let's say, understand the text form of data very easily, right? And here also feature extraction needs to be done, where we'll simply extract out features from the data, and after extraction of these features will be passed into a machine learning algorithm, right? So the feature extraction in the field of NLP is called vectorization, right? We'll be performing vectorization of the data, and these vectors will be passed into your machine learning algorithm for training of the model, right? So this is just an overall overview, right? Apart from that, you'll also learn a few modules like numerical Python to carry out numerical calculations, right, called NumPy. This is the module you'll be using, followed by we'll have Pandas for data data manipulation, right? So the data cleaning and pre-processing can be collectively termed as manipulation of the data, and Pandas will be used to carry out this process. Right. Moving ahead with this, we'll also learn about SciPy, which is used to perform the scientific calculations in Python. Right. So there are a lot of inbuilt functions, let's say theorems, which is already built in the form of algorithm, and it can directly be used by simply importing that algorithm. Right. So we'll be learning about SciPy as well. Stats model I've already mentioned, right? And apart from that, you'll also learn a few modules like the time module, the date time module, right? The let's say regex module, right, etc. These will help you to carry out all the processing of the data very easily and efficiently. Right. So overall, we have, let's say, these are the skills that you'll be building throughout this course, right? And there are some other modules as well, like TensorFlow Keras, which is simply part of specialization, right? The R and R Shiny platform, the R language, right? We have these as well. We'll again put this into miscellaneous category. This will be part of your electives, right? So when the electives will arrive, we'll walk you through what electives are floated, and based on the electives those are floated, you can opt out the elective of your interest. Right. So I hope this part is clear to everyone. All right. So starting with the statistics, right? I'll just give you an overview of statistics today. And So, okay, are we going to learn R language? R language is part of your electives. If you are interested, by the time you reach at that stage, right, you can opt for R language and you can learn R language. And R is a statistical language that is used to perform statistical analysis on the data, right? So yes, discussing just I'll give you this overview of the term statistics, right? So in statistics, basically what happens is we majorly represent everything into the form of a number, right? So it's basically, you can say it's a kind of quantization technique, right? It's a form of quantization that is done on the data, right? So when I say quantization, this basically means representing something into the form of a number, representing in the form of a number, right? And once a number is present, we can, once we get a number, right, we'll be able to, let's say, measure that particular quantity or measure that particular thing, right? So be it, let's say, relationships, be it, let's say, the moments, be it how the variational changes are happening, right? So once all of these things can be represented as the number, I can process this data to understand and get the insights from it, right? So in statistics, majorly, we perform the quantization, right, and represent everything in the form of a number. Right? So in layman's terms, you can say basically in statistics, we just measure something, and this something is subject to change based on what exactly we are measuring and how we are representing it in the form of a number. Right? So here we majorly have our complete statistics is divided into 4 parts, right? Our statistics is divided into 4 parts, starting with the first, which is the descriptive statistics, right? So in descriptive statistics, what we majorly do is we try to understand our data with every aspect, try to understand each of the individual columns by simply getting a proper mathematical description of it, right? So things like, let's say, moments, right? Which is okay. Let's say we'll start with things like, let's say, some average, right? Count when combined with multiple conditions, right? So, and things like moments, right? So in moments we have 4 things, like the mean of the data, then we have variance, right? Then we have skewness and kurtosis, right? So apart from moments, we have momentum, we have percentiles, quartiles, right? We have, let's say, okay, let's put an etc after this, right? So there are a lot of things those are involved when we try to calculate the descriptive statistics, right? The second part, which is involved here, is the inferential statistics, right? So we'll be discussing all these topics in detail. So there is absolutely, you know, will not be discussing this in detail as of now, but yes, in the coming sessions, we'll be discussing each of these individual topics one by one. Right. Next is the inferential statistics. So in inferential statistics, what happens is majorly what we try to do, the based on samples, we try to make generalizations on the complete population. Right. So let's say generalization based on a sample of the data. Right. Generalization based on the sample of the data, and this generalization can be done. This generalization can be done to any data set, right? So we'll simply pick a sample of the data and we'll try to understand how exactly the entire data is represented, right? So which is why our complete, let's say whenever we deal with data, it's majorly, it can either be considered as a population or a sample, right? So we'll discuss these two terms as well in the coming times. All right. And in addition to this, we also try to discover the relationship between features, right? So when I say relationship between features, we try to understand how one feature is varying if any other feature is varying, right? So how they are intercorrelated, right? So these kind of things we'll also discuss, right? The things like covariance, correlation, etc. Right? Moving on, then we have the predictive analytics. This is the third statistic, third type of statistics that falls into the umbrella of statistics, right? And predictive analytics is nothing but making predictions based on the past data, right? And when we make predictions, we are basically making prediction of an unseen data or any scenario that is likely to happen in the coming times, right? And this is nothing but this is exactly the machine learning, right? And this is the part that we'll do, which will be of major focus in our course. All right. And finally, we have the descriptive statistics, right? In this descriptive statistics, we'll try to make descriptions, or let's say it's better to say, we'll try to suggest changes or maybe things that will help the businesses to make efficient decisions based on all these analysis that we have done, right? So every, let's say, machine learning or data science project will be comprised of the complete statistical analysis. And these are the four types of statistics you'll be analyzing on. All right, so it's just the nomenclature, right? This is just the nomenclature that we have here, right? Instead of predictive analytics, it's predictive, in place of predictive statistics, we have predictive analytics. All right. Now, moving on. So this is basically a general overview of the statistics that we have. All right. So guys, I see. Just give me a moment, right? I think something went wrong here. So this is descriptive statistics, and this is okay. So this is not descriptive, but it's right. So this is not descriptive. This is prescriptive. The prescriptive statistics. So here we basically suggest changes, or like how a doctor prescribes you medicine based on the analysis of your report, right? In the similar way, on the analysis of the complete data, will uh, prescribe changes that can be done, or will prescribe the insights that can be used in the final decision making of the business, right? So this is prescriptive statistics. All right. Now, All right. So yes, guys, this is the general overview of the statistics. Talking about the machine learning, let me give you a little overview of machine learning as well. Right. So in the machine learning part, we'll start with there are basically again three parts that we have. The first part is the supervised learning. Right. Second is unsupervised. And finally, we have something called as reinforcement learning. Right. So these are the three types of machine learning that we'll be studying. All right. And talking about this, the supervised learning, this will be a prime focus because this is the technology that is used mostly in the industry, right? And this is applicable almost everywhere. Here, what we have is there are basically two types of problem that we deal with. First is when your target variable, if you remember, we talked about in predictive analytics, we make predictions based on the past data, and this prediction is nothing but a value that is being predicted based on the mathematical operations that is involved behind the scenes, right? So here, what happens is the kind of prediction that you'll simply make prediction of, let's say, two kinds of values here, right? In the supervised part, basically, if it's a real number that you're predicting, right? This falls into the category of regression, right? And if you're predicting a categorical variable, then it will be falling into the category of classification problems in supervised machine learning, right? Real number is a number that can be represented on a number line, but talking about the categorical variable, if it's a category that you're predicting, right? So let's say, for example, whether someone has COVID or not based on the report readings, right? So it's a yes or a no question, and this yes or no is basically a category that we are predicting, right? At the same time, if you're predicting, let's say, the price of a land, right, or price of a house, it's a real number that you're predicting. It's not a category. Right. So this is how it's divided into two parts, and there are multiple algorithms those are used here. Right. I'll just give you simply the excuse me. Right. So I'll simply give you basically the types of algorithms that we have. Right. Right. So there are basically various types of algorithms that we carry out, right? Based on how exactly they're working behind the scenes. And based on this, there are multiple categories, right? The first category is the linear algorithms, right? So when your data is linearly dependent on each other, then we carry out these linear algorithms. Here we have a few algorithms like the linear regression, right? The logistic regression. And then finally, we have a single layer perceptron or a simple perceptron. Right? So we'll talk about these topics again in detail in the coming times. Right? Talking about the next type of algorithm we have is a tree-based algorithm, right? Where basically a tree is made to make the final decisions, right? And here we have a lot of algorithms that we deal with, like decision tree, right? Then we have bagging and boosting techniques like the random forest, right? Then we have ADA boost. These are boosting algorithms. All right. And then we have, let's say, gradient boosting, etc. All right, so there are multiple tree-based algorithms that we deal with, right? Talking about, we have a few kernel-based algorithms, right? And when we talk about the kernel-based algorithms, these kernel-based algorithms where a kernel is working, where all the mathematical operations and calculations is going on, and based on these calculations will majorly predict a value as the output, right? So one of the best examples is SVM, which is support vector machines. Right? Then we have these probability-based algorithms where a probability is predicted, right? And once you have the probability predicted based on, let's say, the threshold value, right? You can simply assign it to a particular category, right? So this is how a probability-based algorithms work, right? A few of the probability-based algorithms is the naive Bayes algorithm, right? This basically works on the principles of Bayes theorem of probability, right? Which is a theorem of conditional probability. All right, then we have bagging and boosting techniques. Right, so bagging is already covered. This is in tree-based algorithms. Random forest is one of the bagging based algorithms. All right, so talking about, let's say, the boosting algorithms, we have these EDA boost, right? This is one of the boosting algorithms. Then we have, let's say, right? So here we also have gradient boost, right? So these are some of the algorithms that those are boosting algorithms. These algorithms, more than one algorithm is basically used, right? So boosting along with bagging falls into the category of ensemble learning, right? So I'll mention bagging as well. Let's say one of the examples of bagging could be bootstrap aggregation, right? Bootstrap aggregation, right? So these are a few types of algorithms that we have, right? And boosting along with bagging majorly falls into the category of ensemble learning. All right, so these are different categories of algorithms that we'll be using. Okay, I think we forgot one category, which is the algorithms that work on the principles of gradient descent, right? So a few of the algorithms are maybe gradient boosting, or let's say extreme gradient boosting called XGBG, right? This is extreme gradient boosting. So here, majorly, the gradient descent is working as an optimization algorithm behind the scene to give you the convergence on the learning. All right, so this is the part of supervised learning that will be covering everything in detail, right, in your machine learning sessions. Talking about the unsupervised learning, since here the target variable is not present, right? So what we do is we majorly collectively represent one kind of data into one single category, and these are called clusters, right? And for these clusters, we have clustering based algorithms in unsupervised learning that will help you to form these kind of clusters. Right, so what is the meaning of gradient boosting and what is gradient descent? We'll talk about this in your machine learning journey, right? This is too early to explain these terms. because linear regression and logistic regression also uses gradient descent for optimization, right? Just simply, I can give you, let's say, one single answer for this is gradient descent will help the machine learning algorithms to converge, which basically means it will help them to finalize the learning, right? So this is how optimization algorithms work. They'll basically optimize for convergence. All right, so yes, these are a few machine learning, supervised learning algorithms. Talking about unsupervised learning, here the data is presented in the form of clusters, and these clusters are basically we have clustering based algorithms here, like we have agglomerative clustering, agglomerative plus agglomerative clustering, we have let's say k-means, right, etc. Okay, I forgot to mention one more point here. In the type of algorithms, we have distance-based algorithms as well, right? So in the distance-based algorithms, we have the k nearest number or k nearest neighbor, right? And these k nearest neighbors is nothing but it will simply find the nearest data point, or it will simply find the nearest point that fall into a particular category, and then the value of the test data will be evaluated, right? So again, we'll discuss this in detail in future, right? Moving on with the reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is basically a kind of reward and punishment kind of cycle that goes in. If the algorithm is working as per it is intended to perform, right, a reward will be provided. Otherwise, if it's working against it, then a penalty will be imposed, right? So this is how you majorly have your complete machine learning divided, right? So guys, I can see a few of you are raising hands. You could simply mention your query in the chat section, and uh, will help you resolve your query, right? So please do not raise your hands until and unless it's really necessary. Right. So in reinforcement learning, it's basically a punishment and reward kind of a system that is designed, right? So based on, let's say, how the algorithm needs to be performing. If it's performing as per that, then a reward will be provided. Otherwise, a punishment will be imposed. All right. Now, moving on, let's talk about the platforms that will help you. Okay, let me give you a list of books first that you can follow. Right. So these are some of the books that can be followed. Right. And this is purely individual's choice whether you want to follow or not. These books are not compulsory, right? But this will just help you expand the horizon of your knowledge. Right. So starting with books for statistics. Okay. Let's start with Python. Right. So here you can follow. The first book that can be followed is Core Python Programming. Right. Core Python Programming. And the author of this book is Dr. R. Nageshwar Rao. All right. This is an Indian author. So those who have their, it's an Indian author. So it's easy to understand kind of a language that is available in the book, right? It's not pure textbook language or pure literature language, but yes, it's a kind of language that can easily be understood by simply going through the text, right? So those of you are have this communication gap in English, right, or understanding gap, you can follow the Indian author. It will help you to understand the core concepts of programming in Python, right? Then we have a foreign author called, name of the book is Think Python. Oh, sorry. The name of the book is Learning Python, right? And this is from O'Reilly Publications. This publication house is popular worldwide for their technological textbooks, right? So textbooks based on technologies, right? So even they have books for machine learning, statistics, front-end development, back-end development, databases, right? There are a lot of things those are involved. Right? So you can follow this particular book, Learning Python. All right, so these are the details that I'm providing you guys. Simply search for these books on Amazon, right? You'll easily get these books on Amazon. All right, talking about the next topic is statistics. So in statistics, I'll strongly recommend every one of you to follow the Think Stats. Right, this is the name of the book. We have Think Stats, and this is again from O'Reilly Publications. Right, this is a very good book to understand the core concepts of statistics. All right, now moving ahead with SQL. For SQL, you can follow maybe learning SQL or getting started with SQL from O'Reilly Publications. I'll mention both of these books, right? So the book is Learning SQL, right? Or let's say getting started with SQL. All right, both of these books are from again O'Reilly Publications, and you can easily find all these books on Amazon. Right, so all these books that I'm mentioning here can easily be found on Amazon. All right, and then finally for machine learning, right? So in machine learning, this is comprised of deep learning as well, right? But here you do not have NLP, right? So the book that you can follow is hands-on. This is the name of the book, right? Hands-on, let's say machine learning with scikit-learn, TensorFlow, and Keras. Right, so this is the name of the book. Again, this is from O'Reilly Publications. Right, you can follow these books for better understanding of the concepts in your subject matters. Yes, learning SQL and getting started with SQL. These are two different books. Right, I'll simply mention numbers here so that none of you get confused. Right, so this is 1 and this is 2. These are two different books from two different authors. All right, so these are basically the books that can be followed to strengthen your knowledge in the field of data science. Right, so you can go for either of the books where more than one book is mentioned under a particular module, right? And you'll be good to go learning the topics. All right, so yes guys, if any one of you want to take the screenshot of this, you're free to do, and please take a 5 minutes break. And meanwhile, if any one of you have doubts until here, right, any doubt, you're free to ask in the chat section. All right, we'll resume our session 5 minutes from now. All right, guys. So let's begin with the session, right? And I see a few of you are asking whether these are different topics or they all fall into machine learning itself. So all of this, right? All of it falls into machine learning, right? And machine learning is very vast. So you have to be prepared. All of it that is highlighted here falls into the umbrella of machine learning, right? And machine learning itself is very vast, right? So we have a lot of things beyond this as well in machine learning uh, that you will learn as per your experience in the industry, right? Almost we are getting new technologies very quickly and frequently, and this is just the foundation of everything. All right, and guys, it's uh, let's say if you have any doubts, right, or you're mentioning your query, it is advised to mention in one single sentence. Do not break your query and ask your questions. In this way, your query might be lost in between multiple other queries, right? So always put down your query in one complete sentence. All right. Now, moving on, let's talk about the platforms that you will be in need. Right. So, guys, meaning of bagging, meaning of boosting, we'll discuss this when the right time comes. Right. This is too early to discuss all these topics. Right. Okay. And the one who's asking for details of machine learning, this is basically the detail that I'm providing you here. Right. You can basically, if you want, you can go through either in your LMS or on the open internet to study or understand more about this, right? Otherwise, when the topic will be covered, it will be covered from scratch. Now, moving on, let's talk about the platforms that you will be in need of, right? Starting with the very first platform here, right? These are the blog-based platforms or the platforms that publish blogs, right? And there are multiple platforms that can be followed to gain more understanding and detailed understanding of the individual topics and concepts, right? So some of the platforms that you can refer to are Medium, right? Then we have Towards Data Science, right? So these are some of the platforms that can be followed if you want to, read blogs on, let's say, any particular topic, or you want to know more about and let's say dive deep into the field of machine learning, right? Next is, let's say, there are a few platforms that will help you to resolve your errors in, let's say, when you're performing coding and ended up getting some or the other kind of error, right? So these are some platforms that will help you to resolve your error, because since you're not the first person who is learning a programming language, right? And multiple other, let's say, users or learners have already learned this, right? So you're expected to commit mistakes during your learning phase, right? So you can understand your mistakes on these platforms, right? And once you are able to understand, you'll be able to replicate or correct the errors, right? Some of the platforms that could be used, one of the most popular platform is Stack Overflow, right? This is a platform that will help you to get your errors resolved very quickly, and they will also help you to understand what exactly is the reason behind which you're getting the error, right? Other platforms could be Stack Exchange, right? Then we have Gist from GitHub, right? These are some of the platforms that will help you to understand errors and get your errors resolved. Right? Talking about the skill development platform, these platforms will help you to develop your coding skills. Right? So yes, all these platforms are online, right? So for example, let's say if I'm mentioning Medium, it's medium.com, the website. If I'm mentioning towards data science, this is towardsdatascience.com. Or you can simply, Google these terms and you'll understand more about these platforms, right? Stackoverflow.org, then we have stackexchange.com, then we have github.com, right? In the similar way, I'll be discussing about the skill development platforms that will help you to develop your coding skills. All right. So some of the platforms that could be used is you can start with Hacker Rank, right? Moving ahead with, let's say, Hacker Earth. Then we have Lead Code. We have CodeChef, right? These are some of the platforms that will help you to develop your skills, right? Simply register on these platforms as a developer, right? Simply as a developer in some of the platforms, it's named as a learner, right? And register on these platforms. You'll be able to easily go through, different problem statements are listed out on these platforms. You can help solve those questions to build your uh, skills in programming. Right? And how you can register, there's a proper documentation attached with every platform, how to use that platform. You need to go through the documentation to understand how these platforms work and what exactly these platforms are built for. Right? So this will be your homework for today. Explore all these platforms on your own, and let's come back tomorrow and discuss about your findings. Right? So yes, these are some of the platforms that will help you if you are looking for some online resources. Right? So yes, guys, you have to do this on your own, right? This is for self-exploration, so that you can understand how a platform can be used. Right? So this is not on social media, guys. This is on open internet, right? The World Wide Web that we have. There's a world outside social media, and this is the technological, let's say, peer-to-peer connection making kind of the websites that will help you to connect yourself with the other learners. Right? Talking about the platforms, those are used to share your codes, right? So code sharing platforms, and one of the most popular code sharing platform is GitHub, right? It is peer-to-peer code sharing platform, right? And you can go through these platforms to understand how they work, right? So in GitHub, basically, you can upload your own code and share it with anyone you want to share with, right? So there are various other functionalities, those are involved, right? Various other features that you get on these platforms when you share a particular code, right? So the videos that is available in your LMS, these are, yes, very good for basic understanding, right? You will easily be able to understand the concepts, right? Now, right, so yes, these are a few platforms that you can easily use, right? And develop your skills. All right. So Okay, let me give you an overview on one of these platforms, one from each category of platforms, right? And you'll be able to get the idea. So let's start with towards data science, which is a blog-based platform here, right? So I hope everyone is able to see my web browser. You can simply search for towards data science, right? And once you are able to see, this is the platform towards datascience.com, right? It's uh, a blog-based platform, right? And the major topics that it covers is machine learning, data science, Python, and other various blogs from other topics, right? So you can, let's say, go for machine learning, right? And there are a lot of blogs mentioned already about the details of machine learning, taking one concept or one perspective at a time and giving you a proper explanation of how that particular concept works and how it can be used, right? There are multiple step-by-step guides as well, how you can, learn various things in machine learning, right? There are a lot of things to learn and how you can make progress, how you can develop your ideas, and how you can basically understand the data in a better way. All right. So this is how you can simply explore machine learning towards data science, right? And if you want to search for a particular topic on towards data science, what could be done is you simply write the name of the topic itself. You simply write, let's say, I want to understand linear regression, right? So just giving you an example, I simply write linear regression and followed by the platform, which is towards data science, right? So there are a lot of articles, as you can see, listed out in the results. Let's say detailed view of linear regression, introduction to linear regression for data science, right? Linear regression from scratch, a practical approach to linear regression in machine learning, right? A simple linear regression, understanding linear regression. There are a lot of articles listed out, right? So these are from various authors whose articles are published on these platforms. So you can make use of these platforms to understand every topic in the field of machine learning, statistics, data science, Python, SQL, Excel, etc., right? Onto this platform. All right. So yes, this is how you can simply use towards data science to gain a deeper understanding of any particular topic or perspective. All right. Now, moving on, let's discuss about the next platform that was mentioned, right? And the next platform that I did mention was the error-based platforms, let's say Stack Overflow, right? Stack Overflow is one of the popular platforms that will help you to build a strong foundation on the programming understanding, right? And again, it's a peer-to-peer connection. So let's say you can simply explore this platform, right? Explore about their products, how it's built, what is the platform's main focus on, and how they are helping, let's say, other users, right? And by the way, this platform is free of cost for the amount of learning that you will be in need of in your initial 1, 2, or 3 years. All right. So you can understand any of the, let's say you can go through any of the questions here. Let's say these are the list of questions, right? And the proper answer is also provided. There are a lot of pages those that is embedded, right? So almost, let's say this is 1.6 million pages, and almost every question that you can ask is already mentioned on this platform, right? So for example, let's say if I want to search for any, there's an error called um, maybe let's say about, let's explore about the Python, right? So let's say newest Python questions here. These are some of the questions: how to handle multiple scripts and databases. All right, so this is let's see something that is related to data science. right? So, okay, let's see this question here. Does Python have a ternary conditional operator, right? So we'll discuss about what a ternary conditional operator is, but you can see these are the number of votes that is given to this particular question. These are basically the number of users who have encountered the same problem, right? And you can see answers listed out here with proper explanation, and answers are also voted. So we have the highest voting as 9,041, right? So this is how the answers for a particular question can be judged based on how useful it was for how many other users. All right, so a proper explanation is given along with the answer. So you can go through this and understand the root cause of the error and eventually solve your error. Right, so this is how you can make use of this particular platform here. Right, talking about the next platform, let me walk you through HackerRank. Right, HackerRank is one of the prepare for interviews. It will also help you to build your programming skills, right? So let's say I want to start with Python, right? So simply click Python on HackerRank, and these are the list of challenges that is available. You can click on any challenge, maybe write a function, right? So this is the question that is provided, all right? And on the right side, you have to write your code, right? So you can change your programming language here, maybe Python 3. You have to write your code here in Python. All right, so you should be able to solve this question by writing your code. And once you think your code is correct, you can simply click on run code here. So if it's correct, it will give you right or a wrong, right? Based on whether the answer is correct or incorrect. Right. So yes, this is the HackerRank platform. In the similar way, other platforms are also listed out. Talking about the GitHub again is say it's a peer-to-peer code sharing platform, right? And this is one of the favorite platforms for the developers across the world to share their codes and make collaborative projects, right? So there are multiple products of GitHub here, like we have Copilot, right? We have code spaces, right? We have, let's say, code review. If you want to get the reviews on your written, right, whether it can be improvised further or not, you can submit it for, code review, etc. All right, so yes, this is one of the platforms that can be used easily. You can sign up for GitHub here and make your platform, upload your code, participate in open source projects, etc. Right, so yes, these are the platforms that I wanted to walk you through so that you have a good knowledge before entering into the technical details. Right, so during your learning phase, let's say if you encounter any kind of error, if you're not able to understand something, right, of course the mentors will be able to help you. The procedure is you simply have to raise a ticket, and once this is done, the ticket will be addressed by one of the team members in the data science team, right? So they will be able to give you the correct approach and the solution. So basically talking about, is there in Hindi language platform, there's basically machine learning and data science. This became popular in and around somewhere around 2006 or 2007, right? Where the technology started to develop, we got new technologies, right? The implementation of machine learning became easy, right? So it came into an era where Hindi was not the language of preference for learners, which is why the complete machine learning, data science, everything is developed in English, right? And you need to learn the English communication language as well to be able to part of this world. Right, so fresher from accounting background, of course you will be able to survive the course because it's about learning a new skill, right? And as far as you are able to focus on your learning, you'll be able to excel through this course and of course pass out with flying colors. All right. So yes, guys, today we'll be wrapping up the session a little early, right? Because I don't want to, start discussions, which is the technical discussion in the middle, right? We'll start tomorrow from fresh and from scratch. All right. So if any one of you, wants to drop off from the session, you're free to do, because I'll be addressing the doubts for the next 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap up with the session. Right. Going through the HackerRank platform. Right. So I'll do that. So this is the HackerRank platform, right? And here you can simply select the programming language and you can start with solving the challenges. Right. So this is the platform. This is the question here on the left. This is the answer that you have to write on the right. Right. And you simply have to run your code thereafter. All right. So guys, if any one of you have any doubts, I'm waiting for next 10 minutes. Else we'll wrap up the session at 11. Right. So guys, those who are not even inclined towards computers or using computers, this course will be fruitful for you, right? We don't have anything, we'll be covering in everything from scratch. So this will ease your learning journey, right? And of course, you have to have the fluency in English language. Right. So basically, the best way to learn machine learning, there are multiple ways, right? There are a few of you who are comfortable with learning from a textbook, and there are few of you who are comfortable in learning by following a video lecture online, right? So this is purely your take on this, how you are able to learn something new, and which is the better way you can adapt. Right. So okay, will there be a time when we start generating codes ourselves? Yes, this will be very soon, because programming languages, these are uh, basically you need to learn the concepts, right? You don't have to learn codes, because codes will be generated by yourself based on the understanding that you carry. Guys, any one of you who's interested to know about regression or classification, so uh, you basically have to wait for your machine learning sessions to start, right? Because this is too early to, introduce you with anything that is related to machine learning. You need to build your foundations first, and then your machine learning journey will begin. All right. So foundations will comprise of learning statistics, learning the Python programming, learning SQL programming, and thereafter you'll dive into the world of machine learning. Right. So since there are many languages that you can follow, I presume you're talking about the programming languages here, right? So what programming languages to follow? Uh, Basically, this Python is the most popular programming language. All right. So let's say when we talk about learning the programming languages, right? So Python is one of the most popular programming language that is used in the field of data science, right? To implement machine learning. So this is one of the major reasons why your course is completely comprised in Python program, right? So this course is already streamlined, keeping the learner's learning behavior, right? And based on this, we have structured this course. So you need not to worry about it. We'll be covering the complete programming principles, programming concepts, and the foundations of programming from scratch. Okay, one of you here is asking the difference between machine learning and data science, right? So although there's a huge difference between machine learning and data science, so talking about let's say machine learning, we can say it's a you can say it's a brain of artificial intelligence, right? Where the primary focus of machine learning is development of the let's say algorithms, right? It will develop an algorithm that will help a machine learn about the patterns of the data and make decisions based on that, right? So given the data from which a machine has to learn will also provide what the machine has to learn, right? So this is part of supervised learning where we provide a machine what needs to be learned, and we'll also provide the data from which a machine needs to learn, right? So having done this, your machine will be able to train itself, right? So this is what machine learning is comprised of. Talking about the data science here is purely used in the field of analytics, right? When you want to make of business decisions, or let's say if you want to make, let's say on different sectors or different ventures, machine learning is acting separately, or let's say data science is acting separately, and the outcome of machine learning models of projects is the stage at which the role of data science starts, right? In the executions, for example, healthcare analytics, right? Or let's say fraud detection, or let's say social media analysis. These kind of things are basically involved in data science, right? Talking about, okay, guys, I see a few of you are simply, mentioning this, that about the notes here, right? So let me make this very clear in the from the first session itself. It is advised to prepare your own notes, right? So this way you'll be able to learn in a better way, because when you write something after learning, you'll have uh, the retention of those concepts for a longer time, right? So this is the major objective behind preparing your own course notes, right? So once you are able to do, it will be easy for you in the revision. Right. So guys, this has also been mentioned. If you are not able to understand something, there are mentors to guide you from the data science team itself. They'll help you understand, but the primary source of learning will be the live session and the recording of these live sessions in your LMS, right? This will be the primary source of learning. Learning from mentors can be taken as a kind of a doubt clearing session. Let's say if you got some doubts during your learning time, you can ask for a doubt clearing session where you can ask multiple doubts in a one-to-one mentorship, right? These one-to-one mentorships are not to re-explain the complete course or re-explain every class. Right. So data science and data analytics is completely different. Right. So the procedure for raising or connecting with the mentors is through the tickets. Right. You have to raise a ticket, mention your doubts specifically. Right. Mentioning the name of the topic will not be enough. You need to mention your doubts specifically. And if you have, let's say, any uh, codes that you need to attach, you need to attach that as well. Right. So this is the way to get in touch with the mentors. And I'll mention this one more time, that the primary source of learning will be your live sessions and the recording of these live sessions. Right. The recording of every live session will be available in your LMS, and these recordings are unedited. Right. So how your normal live session is being carried out, in the similar way, the recordings will be available. All right. So yes, guys, with this note, let's wrap up the session for today. And from tomorrow onwards, we'll start with the basics of statistics, right? And how you can raise a ticket. For this, a preparatory session has been conducted already, right? So you can go through previous sessions recordings, right? You'll be able to understand how to raise a ticket. All right. So yes, guys, with this note, let's wrap up the session for today. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time, and we'll start with the discussion on statistics, right? So thank you everyone for joining this session, and you have a good night.